Claire had always believed in science. A surgeon to the core, she trusted logic as the only acceptable explanation for existence. Her life was meticulously planned, from her hospital shifts to her sugarless coffee and the solitary nights reviewing patient charts. Her disbelief in the unseen came from old wounds, an absent father, a mother who left too soon, and a childhood defined by silence and uncertainty. To her, God was just a fairy tale invented for those who couldn't handle life's randomness. She had promised herself never to depend on faith, only on scalpels and certainty. That rainy Friday night, the city was drenched. Claire was exhausted after her shift, listening to the same playlist she always did. She barely noticed the yellow light at the intersection, or the car speeding in the opposite direction. The impact was sudden, brutal, ending everything in a single moment. Metal twisted like paper, glass shattered like time itself breaking apart. The world went dark. Claire felt her body sink into a kind of deep sleep, as though she were falling into a place where time didn't exist. At the hospital, the doctors fought to keep her alive. A cruel irony, some thought. One of the best surgeons, now lying still in the ICU, sustained by machines. The diagnosis was clear. Coma. No prediction of recovery. But within, in a place beyond vision, something was happening. Claire was alive. In another dimension. It wasn't a dream, nor a hallucination. It was a white, ethereal space where the laws of physics didn't apply. And there, in that non-place, someone waited for her. He had eyes the color of the sky after rain, and a presence that was both calm and commanding. His name was Gabriel. She didn't need to ask if he was an angel. She just knew. His energy moved through logic, dismantled resistance, and gently warmed the hidden cracks in her soul. "You're not alone here, Claire," he said, his voice, both a whisper and a thunderclap. "There's much to see, much to understand." She wanted to laugh, to deny, to run, but she couldn't. She was caught here. And for the first time, she had no scalpels, no diagnoses, no control. Only questions. And a silence that screamed for answers. Gabriel guided her through paths made not of ground, but of memory. With a soft motion, he opened windows in the air, and through them, Claire saw scenes from her own life. Some were vivid: graduation, sleepless shifts, patients saved by her precise hands. But others were scars she had forgotten, now bleeding again. She saw the little girl crying alone in a dark bedroom, the teen writing letters to a mother who could no longer answer. She saw moments where she'd pushed love away, terrified of being left. And she wept. Not for the memories themselves, but for finally feeling them with an open heart. "Why are you showing me all this?" she asked, her voice trembling. Gabriel came closer, his presence radiating warmth. "Because before you can understand what's next, you need to understand who you've been. Every choice builds a road, but some roads take us away from our purpose." Claire felt a long-buried anger rise in her chest. "Purpose? Are you saying my life had a plan, and I've been wrong all this time?" Gabriel didn't smile, but his eyes were kind. "Not wrong, just asleep. Pain hardened you, but now it's time to wake up." In one vision, Claire saw herself with a terminal patient. She remembered the woman, someone with late-stage cancer, who smiled through the pain. She remembered in a moment of exhaustion answering one of the woman's questions with clinical coldness. Now she saw the aftermath, the patient crying, alone. Claire felt a guilt she had never allowed before. "You were excellent with your hands, Claire," Gabriel said, "but your heart grew cold. Medicine heals bodies, but it can also touch souls. And you forgot that." His words landed like nails, but with an odd relief. It was as if someone had finally said what she had always known, but had never dared to hear. More visions came, lives she had saved, who then changed the world in small, beautiful ways. People touched by her precision, but also hurt by her silence. Gabriel showed her that even her failures held meaning. And in that space where time was made of truth, Claire began to change. The skeptic, the tough one, the rational one, began to feel. And that was more terrifying than any surgery. For the first time, she didn't want to understand. She just wanted to feel. As Claire took in everything she had seen, Gabriel led her to a golden field where there were no shadows, no pain. The silence felt welcoming, but it carried a strange weight. Then he stopped. His eyes, once soft, now seemed deeper, like they held centuries of stories. "There's one more thing you must see, Claire. It won't be easy, but it's time." With a gentle gesture, he opened a new window in the air, and Claire saw it. The accident. She saw the speeding car. But more than that, she saw that it wasn't random. It hadn't just happened. It had been orchestrated. "This doesn't make sense," she said, her pulse racing. "You're saying the accident was planned? That it was part of some divine scheme?" Gabriel nodded, his face solemn. "Yes. You were drifting too far from what you came here to do. Life is made of free will, but sometimes the divine must intervene to remind us of our path." Claire felt the world, even this world of memory and light, fall away beneath her feet. "Are you saying I had to almost die to remember?" The angel looked into her soul. Not die, pause, to see, to choose, with awareness, how to live. Anger surged through her like a storm. "That's cruel. Who has the right to interfere like that?" Gabriel let her speak. He waited for her tears. Then, softly, "You did. Before you were born. You chose this life, and you also chose that if you ever lost your way, you would be called back." Claire staggered. Everything, her logic, her training, her identity, unraveled. But in the middle of the pain, something lit up. A spark, as if a forgotten part of herself was finally waking. Gabriel brought her to one final place, a room of pure light. At its center stood a mirror, but it didn't reflect her body. It reflected her essence. And there, she saw not a cold surgeon or a broken woman, but an ancient soul, full of compassion, carrying a gift not just to heal bodies, but to ease hearts. She dropped to her knees, undone by a feeling she couldn't name. "What happens now?" she whispered. Gabriel knelt beside her. "You'll return, but you won't be the same. Your mission begins now." The awakening was slow, like a sunrise after a night with no stars. Claire opened her eyes and felt the hospital light sting her vision. Sounds returned, the beeping machines, muffled voices, the sterile scent of the room. But there was something new, or perhaps ancient, pulsing inside her. She was alive, but also transformed. Doctors surrounded her, some in tears. They said she'd been in a coma for nearly 2 weeks. To them, it was a miracle. To her, it was a beginning. In the days that followed, Claire changed. She began listening, really listening, to her patients. She touched their hands gently. Sometimes, she simply looked at them in silence, and they cried, feeling something they couldn't explain. Her co-workers noticed. "You're different," they said. She would smile. "I just woke up." At night, she wrote in a new journal. She recorded the memories of her coma, Gabriel's words, the visions. On every page, she left blank space for new answers to come. One day, a terminal patient asked her, "Do you believe in miracles, Dr. Claire?" Once she would have given a clinical response, but this time she held the woman's hand. "I believe there's more between heaven and earth than we can see," And sometimes, what looks like an ending is just the beginning. The patient smiled through her tears. In that moment, Claire knew she was fulfilling her purpose, not just as a doctor, but as a messenger, as a vessel for something greater. That night, she looked at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, Gabriel." She could feel him, even if unseen. A soft breeze entered the hospital window, brushing her cheek, and in that breath, Gabriel's breath, she knew he was still with her, guiding, reminding, whispering that even the hardest hearts can be healed, and that some falls are actually wings in disguise. Years passed. Claire kept practicing medicine, but also became a speaker and author. She talked about spirituality and healthcare, about deep listening and soul-level compassion. She wrote a book. She became known across the country. But she never went back to being the woman she was before the accident. She carried with her the certainty that her life was part of something far bigger, and that each day, with every patient, she was answering a divine calling. In her old age, with silver hair and peaceful eyes, Claire would sit by the window and gaze at the sky with quiet gratitude. She never saw Gabriel again, not physically, but sometimes she dreamed of him. In those dreams, he smiled and said, "You chose well." She would wake with a full heart, knowing she had done what she came to do. Her days were now simple, filled with soft conversations, chamomile tea, and handwritten reflections. But in each gesture, there was depth, as if every moment had become a silent prayer. When she finally left this world, her room was at peace. The window was open, letting in a warm breeze that caressed her face in her final breath. And those at her side swore they saw, for just a moment, a glowing figure at the foot of the bed. A man with eyes like the sky after rain, smiling gently. The same who once met her between worlds. The same who now guided her home, and so ends Claire's story. But Gabriel's breath remains. In the winds that soften hardened hearts, in the pauses life gives us to look again, and in the souls that, even without understanding, keep searching for meaning. Because maybe, deep down, we are all just waiting for our own Gabriel to remind us that there is more. There always was. And there always will be.